Testing one, two, three.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
We are live. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day the daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, glory, yours now and forever. Your Son, who died on this day for us, for our salvation, for our sin debt in full, past, present, future. Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing I want to do before I get into it is a very dear friend of mine, her son, a young man, not a kid, was best man, was going to be best man at a wedding in LA. Flew out there, Max, you want? Flew out there, staying at this Max. Come on, up here. Stop at the nails. Come on, up here. Up here. Anyway, flew out to LA, went to the rehearsal dinner, coming back, getting changed, and they don't know what happened. I'll tell you what happened. He was robbed, beaten, 2 fractures in the skull, found left for dead across the street from his hotel, and he was in a hospital as a child. Everything was taken from him. So this kid, really bad. Blood bleeds, blood running out of the works. Okay, fractured skull. Going to have to go through all kinds of brain trauma rehab. And his mother is a dear friend of mine, and she's beyond. Something that they do not show when the governor of that state goes ahead and starts talking down to DeSantis. We'll get more into all that. For the scripture today, I'm just going to do a short bit. I'm going to address somebody so I would like you to pray for Salvatore, okay? Please pray for that boy. I mean, generous kid, man, like, us adult, nice guy, was going to be the best man. Anyway, everything's stolen from him. Okay, so this is 2 Corinthians 12:9. And I'm going to get into detail. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Dr. Stanley, who I look to him with a lot of these things, has a write up on this, and then he says, what value could there possibly be in weakness? None of us can escape the pressures of life. Most of us know what it feels like to be disappointed. We know that the painfulness of embarrassment, the sting of rejection, and the sorrow of failure. There always comes a time when the lids come off the boiling of pots and pans and crash to the floor. What pots are boiling out of control in your life? Is there a financial need? Maybe you face a relationship crisis or are urgently praying for God's wisdom. Regardless of your situation, you can trust this principle. Wherever, whatever brings you to your knees in weakness carries the greatest potential for your personal success and spiritual growth and victory. Even though Paul could have listed many personal accomplishments, he chose to tell his audience what he saw as to the key to experiencing a victorious life. Accepting his weakness so that the strength of Christ might live fully in him. I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Who of us, who among us doesn't have and hasn't had failure in their lives, hasn't had a fire in their lab, hasn't had their life's work stolen from them with keys of all kinds of projects, hasn't been disappointed at choices and obstacles that have come upon them where they had to choose the lesser of two evils. But I am thankful of the grace of each breath that I wake up and have. I am thankful that I wake up and there is a tomorrow and a today. I am thankful for the miracles that He has graced upon me. I am thankful for those failures that brought me on my knees to Him. There's always hope, always. Now, recently, another thing came on the air. In that triple homicide in Madison County in Florida, Miami. Turns out the three people were killed for robbery all at once. The media is quick to point out, oh, they were done by a gun. Gun, 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 gun. The sheriff pointed out that it was not the gun, that it was the act of these three individuals, part of a gang, a youth gang. One 12 years old, one 17, one not apprehended yet, that pulled the trigger on the stolen guns. And by the way, all illegal to have at their age. Already illegal. By the way, it's illegal to kill people. It's illegal to steal. It's illegal to rob. It's illegal to shoot people and murder them. The bad people will always have the guns, always, and worse. Oh, I know. I've known this from when I in the 70s. A friend of mine told me about he was a gas station owner and a mechanic here in Babylon, and he did some work for as a friend shop in Brooklyn. He's like, "Hey, Bob, I can't believe, but I saw a full case of Uzis, fully automatic, not the thing that you could get in the gun store, which was one pull, one bullet, one pull, one bullet, one pull." Okay, no, 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 right from Israel, fully automatic machine guns. This is what the criminals were buying. This is what the black mafia was buying, the Russian mob back then. This is what they don't fool around. At the time, they don't go to Leslie Edelman's or whatever and wait online and pay all this money. Back then, it weren't that much money. Like I think I got my first SP1 AR-15 back then, and I bought it for a specific rifle competition I was going to go into, and it cost me, I think it was like $220, something like that. Just a standard leftover SP1. I actually still have it downstairs. It's of course registered. It will be destroyed upon my death. I cannot pass it to my sons. Okay, that's part of the arrangement I made. Yet, like I said, not even 20 miles away, and I know this for a fact, there are gangs that have fully automatic Mac 10s, fully automatic Glock 19s, and I'm not kidding, pistols that have been modified to where that they're fully automatic. And there are shootings every day. Gangland, machine gunnings, machetes, you name it, every day. Not 20 miles south of me. Well, kind of an angle that way. The New York Safe Act. We have this. Those are only the to carry more than 7 rounds in your gun is illegal. Not even a police officer off duty can carry on his off duty weapon more than 7 rounds. Do you think the criminals in their stolen illegal Glock 19s have only 7 rounds in the magazine shoved up the pipe of that Glock 19? It's called that because it holds 19 9mm rounds. But of course, it's the gun's fault that it's doing this, right? The gun itself modified itself. Okay. The gun loaded its own magazine. No. Just like that machete. We supposed to outlaw all kinds of machetes and tools and things that these MS-13 people are using and hacking people to death with chainsaws, mind you. Just again, south of me. Yep, let's make them all legal. You know what? I got a better idea. I got a better idea. Let's outlaw steel. Yeah, then you got it all. You got cars that run over people and kill people. You got trucks, no more. You got all the guns, even if they're plastic, they have to have a steel barrel. Oh, hey, you got that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you think these maniacs and these lawless people and these has it worked in LA? Has it worked here? Gun crimes are up 600%. You can't go to the mall and park your car. It'll either be the catalytic converter will be stolen, or the car will be stolen, or the car will be broken into. It's so bad in California and San Francisco. People leaving the doors and the trunks open so that they don't bust them to steal crap, showing the perpetrator there's nothing in the car. That's how bad it's gotten. I know the recipe. Um, Tara Harris writes a recipe for black batter. Um, I know the recipe very well because for years, uh, how many years? Hold on. Jeez, I'm getting old. Uh, 25, 30, something years I've owned. No more than that. Goes back to, geez, it's almost 40 years. Wow. For 40 years, I've had a black powder pistol, and again, it's on my pistol license. It's registered on my pistol license because in order to have the workings and the primer caps and the whole bit, you have to have it on your light. It's a workable pistol. You have to have it on your on your license. It shoots insane. It shoots a 480 grain semi. It's nuts. Okay, it's absolutely a nuts. It's a nuts weapon. Okay, it's and I understand why in during this. It's an old Army 1860. I understand why they had to cut people's legs off after being shot with this thing. I mean, if it hit the femur, just blow it to smithereens. Okay, I've actually shot it at the range out east at cinder blocks that I actually brought, and it looked like I was shooting a bag of flour. The semi-lead thing hit it and went perfectly flat, and then put its entire power of the entire thing into literally breaking these molecular bonds in the concrete and just turning it into powder. It was just it was incredible. It's like if you want to make a wall, just bring this gun, and it's perfectly balanced. It's really heavy. So what I do use it as a backup weapon. I can use it as a backup weapon for hunting in shotgun areas. It's legal. Why the stupid round's so heavy? It only goes about I don't know, maybe 75 yards. So it's yeah, it's very big, and but it's a gas to shoot. It's fun, the whole smoke and everything. And what I do is I've learned to use what's known as called Pyrodex. It's a more. It's first of all, it's not as smoky. It's cleaner. It's much easier to clean a gun, and it's consistent. They come in a little uh, cylinder rings, so it's very easy to load and get a consistent measurement of the exact thing for accuracy. I'll tell you the most amazing. It's extremely accurate gun. I mean, really, really accurate. Amazing. Big. I mean, it's like, wow, huge, heavy. It's it's what it is, you know. Anyway, and then yeah, and also you can't use you have to load it with one round if you're going to use it in a black powder area. Okay. Um, But I also have a White's rifle. Okay, usually a shotgun primer, Winchester 209, and then you load it up. Again, I use Pyrodex in that. That's a 457 Hawkins round, extremely accurate rifle. I prefer to go when I used to go deer hunting. I preferred to go during those those things. It's just number one. I've always made sure that I had a kill shot, and I always made sure that the animal was good to eat. If I can't tell you how many bucks I had in my sights that were like 12 point, the huge racks, big. I would never. My cousins would. I would never do it because I'm like, go out and make more. It's gonna taste terrible. I want, I want, I want a young, no spike, sure, anything like that, absolutely, because the meat's gonna be very tender. It's gonna be good because I'm hunting for food. It's just like certain fish. Certain fish, if they're too big, I'll throw them back. You go out and make more, because I know. I'm not talking saltwater fish. I'm talking freshwater. You know, a pond, a good sized pond, lake, bass, things like this. Um, Again, too small. You don't want that either because it's just all bone. So for me, it's food. I mean, I'm a ball. So as a child, I grew up with my father who would always like when we went hunting and fish. It's off the land. It's it. We weren't allowed to bring, Snickers bars and through like my cousins did. It's no, 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 no. Nope. And my my old man would accuse me of cheating. If by the side of this river I rolled over some rocks and I found some worms and would put them on my lure because my stomach's making all kind. I was not fat at the time. I was very thin, extremely thin. I was a very active kid. And I'm like starving, okay? Haven't eaten all night to morning, and I'm starving. I mean, I want something to eat. My stomach is playing, national anthem. Anyway, so I would be always the one who would catch the fish fast, because also I knew where the fish would be, specifically the trout. And my father was like, "Yeah, I saw what you did. Don't do it again." Every time. Um, a funny story. My father, he had his cars were never really cleaned, poorly maintained. You know, but he would just drive the crap out of them. You know, so he had this 1966 Golden Caddy, and my Uncle Joe's garage. He kept it all working. It ran good, but it wasn't the brand new 72 Caddy, brand new. And my father used to think that the middle name well, I'll get into that. So anyway, a night before, I laid out all the stuff in the garage, and I proceeded to methodically, and I mean methodically, load the trunk of the caddy up. And it's a huge trunk. But we have a lot of we get tents and Coleman stoves and gear and gun, the whole bit. Okay. So I'm busy really organizing everything. And I took, my pride in packing. So he wakes me up at 4:30 in the morning. He's like, pack the caddy. I said, I did. We don't have to leave till 5. I did it. I did it. I did it. I get another. Yeah. No, 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 no. You packed the work. Yeah, but mom said, pack the caddy. So I'm out there and I got to move everything out of his car into the new car. And he's there faster, quicker, quicker. We got to get going. Anyway, we get to my uncle's house and they're sitting there BSing for like 35 minutes. So then all of a sudden we hit all this traffic that he was telling me and it's the new car, which I know my mother's going to blame me for anything that happens to it because she knows that he wouldn't pack the caddy. It would be me who's packing the caddy. So yeah, we'd be driving through Pennsylvania to my other cousin's farm, huge, to go hunting. You know, he had a farm with a lake and all kinds of stuff. And my father would just, the car was all driving straight and everything, but there's these roads and they're dirt roads and the fields, and he would just, we'll do the hypotenuse. He's driving across this field, and of course he hits a rock, and it tears the crap out of the exhaust system and everything else. And yeah, so make a long story short, we're driving home. We couldn't even reach like 50, 60 miles an hour because the car's pulling so much, and it's just a heaping pile of junk running, you know, loud. So yeah, that's I lost my father when I was 17, so you cherish those memories. Um, I calculated all the time I spent with my father in my life, and it all added up to one summer. I'm writing this book about it, but it's another reason why that I would take off every summer with my sons. My wife would take off only 1 month, but I would take off the entire summer so that I would always be with them doing stuff, teaching them. And yeah, Teresa Hurst, TNT is different. It's a different formulation than than um, than black powder. It's nitrous based. It's nitroglycerin based. I'm not going to discuss that here, but yeah. Well, today is Good Friday, the day that we have been set free. We were set free by the sacrifice of a man, the Son of God, who takes away the sins of the world. And that was the other thing I wanted to address. Another person said that she can't take anything I say seriously because I'm constantly talking about Jesus. I died. And when I died, I went through a CAT scan through the building. I died with a prayer from my son's lips on my mouth. And I was on this light rope, or maybe it was manifestation as a rope, as it being a light cylinder. I don't know. Um, it was a golden, sparkly thing where I was in contact with it. I couldn't, it was perilously where you're just on this thing and you could, I mean, it's like a tightrope you could fall up, but you didn't have the balance on it. It's like you're on an escalator, and you knew that you couldn't fall up, but what you saw below you was billions and millions of people and things and creatures. No dogs, no cats. Max, come. Uh, Falling into this abyss. You didn't see the abyss. You saw the abyss, but you didn't see the whole of the abyss. You saw them falling into this abyss from all sides. It was beyond horrible. You know that it wasn't made for humans, and the depth of despair, the depth of anger, the depth of all kinds of emotions was coming from this place. I myself, looking down at that, I didn't say it. I thought it. I thought to myself, I thought I'd be there. As soon as I thought this, he says, you are forgiven because you forgave, even though you haven't forgiven yourself. Yeah. I couldn't even think after that. I didn't feel worthy to have him in my head. Oh, but he's in your head. So remember that on this day, he paid for all of your sins, past, present, future. Oh, you'll fall again just like I'll fall again. You'll beg for his forgiveness. You'll pray about it. You'll ask for his strength. You'll get better at it. You won't do the same thing. But you can't be afraid in life to fail. You do the best you can with the circumstances that you're with. And one thing you must do is you must forgive others, even though they haven't been contrite, even though they haven't been remorseful, even though they haven't asked for your forgiveness. You must give it to them, even if they don't forgive you. You must forgive them. In his name, you forgive them. In his deed, you forgive them. Because he did something that his Father in heaven could not do. He went to through that abyss. By definition, God could not do that because hell is where God is not. And yes, he was resurrected, as I said before in a prior show. If he did not, we would not have, I believe, we would not have this to read, at least the New Testament. We have the Old Testament. We would not have the New Testament. We have individuals that even in the end, you know, he had to prove to them. As I said to somebody else, that was the second coming. We, end of days, Christ on a white horse, that's the third coming, right? First is through Mary, his mother. Second is through his resurrection. And third is when we see him again. He will instantaneously transform all of us that are written in the Lamb's book of life. Now I'm going to talk about this whole thing. I'm first going to talk about the bad because you are not going to hear it from anybody. And again, this is on Trump. And this is what we say. Does Trump admit that he chose this Cohen lawyer badly, who was a lawyer for him for years, years and years? Or that this lawyer, okay, lying about it is not a good thing? That's not what Christians do. Not what we do. And then turning around and disgrace somebody, saying and admit against those things. No. DeSantis voted against Obama's health care. DeSantis voted against a budget that was going to blow up everything. But you are being disingenuous if you turn around and say that he voted against Social Security or he voted against Medicare. Some, it's not true. Not true at all. It's true in the sense that it was in those bills, but that's not the case. So if they, that's the kind of politics the Democrats do. If Trump was any kind of individual, he would call, pick up the phone and stop those ads immediately. It says volumes. It also says volumes about his wife did not come with him to New York. His wife did not, she showed a little bit, but there was no hug and kiss. I feel not badly for her. She knows the kind of person that she married. What I feel is terrible, terrible, terrible for Barron, the son, because of what Trump did to his mother. Now, is she going to divorce and leave him? No. That's for her son's ultimate education and protection, and the fact that she's like 50 something years old and he's going to die. She's never going to share his bed again, period. And she's the first lady, and she's a smart woman. By him not taking a stand on this and admitting what he did was wrong, and both of those actions, but also wrong about Pence, wrong about Kelly, wrong about Mattis, wrong about Cohen, wrong about all these things. He's never made these mistakes. He has. This is why I don't like Trump. Where would I like Trump? Obviously, if he's against any other Democrat, that's besides the point. He would change my ways if he would diminish his ego enough to get John to come and be his running mate as vice president. How about that? Have me lock, stock, and barrel. And then in John's president, then he could have DeSantis as his VP, whatever. I don't care. Okay. That'd be fine. Is that going to happen? It didn't happen the first time. It should have happened the first time. John should have been the AG, but Guess who didn't want to share the limelight? This good ego didn't want to. No. Meanwhile, it's not sharing the limelight. It's handling the creatures that are within. And as I said before, I don't even know if DeSantis is going to run. If I was DeSantis, I wouldn't run. He's the governor of his state. Sooner or later, Trump is going to have to kowtow to him because he can't win without Florida. DeSantis owns Florida. That's how I see this. I don't care that Bush is for the DeSantis. I don't care that a Nazi is for the. I don't care. That doesn't reflect upon DeSantis. DeSantis is what he's done for his state, what he's done for his people. You see, because when it comes down to it, he knows what it is to serve. He was in the United States Navy as an officer. He knows what it is to serve the people. He didn't have to do it. He did it. Not this pomp and circumstances stuff. What did he do when his wife had cancer? He didn't miss one of her treatments. I wish, Terry, I wish that Rick was here. But the other thing I'm going to tell this person who told me that I do too much talk about Jesus is that I learned right then and there when I died that well, first of all, it was more real than this. This is a dream compared to that. And then I realized because God told me this, He said to talk about it, and He told me that this is a test. Everything that you do, everything that you think, everything that you say, everything is written. It's done because you're living in a simulation. If you don't believe me, there's plenty of evidence, and there's people who don't believe in God or whatever. But guess what? They believe that this is a simulation. Oh, it's run by aliens. Yeah. No, it's run by God. And this is not the only battle that's occurring. There's a battle out there that's occurring as well. But it doesn't matter. There's a battle in here that's occurring. There's a battle out there that's occurring. There's a battle every single day. You're being offered specific choices. You're being tested every single day. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I wish I could do things over and better and whatnot in the past? Sure, but who's got that? Even I even know this. If I built a time machine and I went back in the past, I'm incorporated to what the past was already. I've already done it. So whatever I did then is resulted in today. You can't change it. You can only change the future because the future is your reality. There is no f- forward future, there is no past. It is the decisions that you're making now. You learn from your mistakes. You try to do better. But the key to everything is to learn and to do the best you can with the information that you have. And yes, sometimes you're emotional, you make a mistake, you do the look, we all do it. I'm not going to tell you that no, no, that's not, no, I'm not going to tell you that I don't have regret. I do, but it's not helpful. What it is, it's just like, everybody tells me, oh, You have to forgive. You have to forgive yourself. That's a sin because God forgives. It's not a sin. It's a sin not to forgive others. It's not a sin not to forgive yourself. If you don't forgive your if you even do that, my thinking is I might make the same mistake. So it's not like I don't know that God forgives me. I know that he forgives me. He told me himself. I don't forgive those things because I don't want to repeat them. I don't want to make that mistake again ever. He has restored me fully, in my brain at least. We're working on the body, but I'm here. And I'm here by his grace. He knows I'll never do that again. Never. No matter what. Just like I was telling my friend the other day, good faith, I'm never taking this mark of the beast. It's not happening. I'll die. I don't care. You're not going to do that to me. I know what it says. I believe it. I've seen it. Don't do it. No matter how much they torture you in any way, shape, or form, do not do it. It can't be forced upon you. You have to choose it. Go as the wind blows. No, I don't go as the wind blows. I make changes. I alter. I don't go as the wind blows. I've stayed very consistent. What's the consistency? We're here now because of Trump's mistakes. He put people in, he counted on them. Did they? No, they didn't do it. Does he sit down in the front of everybody and say, look, this is what happened, and this is because it's my fault. I chose these people. I made these decisions. I went along with the Q plan. Was I, Jim F., was I any time for the Q plan? Anytime. Go look in my house page. You'll see, no, that wasn't. Ah, nope. Was I was a Trump lover. Yeah, sure. I love Trump over every single person that was on the Republican Party. I worked for the man. I know him. Did I say he was brilliant? Absolutely. Did I believe and it was told to me that he was born again in 2012? Yes. So I thought all this stuff was baloney and behind him. And now I'm finding out that it's not. You have to say to yourself, how does this reflect this whole thing? This whole arrest and everything was bogus. We all agree that. However, it would not have happened if the man did not have these things. Now, yes, I grant no statute of limitation. No, that there's not. It's a nothing burger. I look at the thing. It's absolutely dismissible and everything else. And yes, it is political, and I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing any of that. Nor am I saying he was a bad president. I'm saying that he made bad choices, like all of us do. And I want to hear him say that. Pence is gonna, and you know what? You guys are the ones. You guys are the ones. You told me about Pence. And I said, well, he's this and that. And you guys kept telling me, no, 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 Bob, no, you were right. I was wrong. One of you guys told me about no, that's not what the Bible says. Again, what did I just read that, Jim F? What did I just read about weakness? Weakness is strength. Being able to admit that you've done mistakes and wrong is strength. It's not weakness. Uh, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Only a strong person can admit to falling down and making mistakes. Believe me, I would love to go back in time and to be able to tap myself on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Bob, don't do this. This is going to happen." We don't have that ability. Okay, that can't happen. It just can't happen. I know it for a scientific perspective. It can't happen. Oh yes, you can go back in time, but if you did, you always did it. You can't change that specific locale. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way. And repentance is all. Admitting your failure before God and other people shows that you're willing to take it on the chin. That is strength. It's not weakness. Oh no, to be embarrassed, to be pointed out. Oh no, it's not a weakness. It's strength. Do you think Biden, who turns around in front of everybody and everybody said, and Afghanistan was a great success? Are you out of your mind? What? 13 Americans died. Unbelievable amount of Americans had to get out from other patriots, sacrificing their fortunes, going back there because they knew these people. Not to mention the $83 billion worth of hardware left. And now Afghanistan has got its own eBay selling it all. And we're in the same predicament we were before 9/11. I know what the truth is. I know what the truth is. I was Trump's biggest fan, no question about it. Absolutely. Worked for the guy back in 82. Very smart person. Thought that he's seen the light and had changed. Furthermore, I thought that, again, on that election thing, that John was going to come down with them and his wife as well. That's what I was looking forward to. Then I'm seeing John and all kinds of things in his. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Okay, well, then this. Okay, well, then that. I'm doing all these solvings of these codes and everything else. For what? I don't know what happened. Okay. Whether he was afraid of the fact that he didn't want to be responsible, looking at John as a brother, a younger brother, responsible for his death or something like this. It's worse now, okay? And yes, his ego got in the way, no question about it. Because I see that what happened in the end, nothing was changed. Nothing was changed for 2018. Nothing was changed for 2020. And the result is yes. And yes, I agree with him 100%. He said, oh, yes, it was, yeah. So guess what? Are we suffering? Do we have a petrodollar anymore? Do we have our forces? Is there a war in Ukraine? Is there Saudi Arabia is pissed off they left? Is all of a sudden yes? Answer yes. Is China getting ready to take over Taiwan before the 2024 elections result? Has the seventh fleet been put into a place? Are the young men and women dying on a regular basis that you don't even hear and know about that I know? And it's just the tip of the iceberg. And it's all because this person wouldn't follow through. And you don't see that. And you don't want to know it. And that's fine. But guess what? It's not real. Yeah. How has he done that twice? How? Did anything happen about it? Was the dossier and the Pfizer stuff that would turn out to be false, was anybody held responsible? Did anybody go to Leavenworth and are now pounding rocks? Has there justice been done to all of a sudden allow this asswipe to go ahead and do this bogus arresting like third world countries? I'm not agreeing with it. But if you don't stop the first one, this is what happens. And how did that happen? I'll tell you, it's just like JFK was not vocal, and he should have been with the public because after the Cuban thing, he had the public behind him, and that's when he should have literally done what he said he was going to do. And if he did that, he'd still be alive. But he was too interested and too directed by other things. And I'm not saying it was a great man. I'm saying that there were other things that he spent time on that he didn't need to spend his time on. And I'm not judgmental. I'm just telling you the way it is. And maybe if he was less interested in his penis, he would have been more interested in what was going on that was going to kill him, get him killed, and seeing it happening. I'm not mad at Trump. I'm disappointed in Trump. You think I'm mad at Trump? I'm not mad at Trump. I'm disappointed because I know what the facts are. You don't. And I'm telling you right now, we're in a beyond pickle. A beyond pickle. Nobody's even talking about nobody. Nobody's talking about go to any of your chat GPs or any of your Googles or anything like that. Look up the Carrington event. See that I'm kidding here. Look up the Carrington event. Look at what happened 2 weeks ago. Look at the fact that Jupiter is in conjunction with us in opposition. It's right. We're on a line. Look at that. What would happen if this Earth got hit with that? What if it was the other? What would happen? Do your investigation. Don't believe me. Do your investigation. Don't believe me. Did he ignore our letter that was signed by other, not just by myself, by other scientists? Is it possible to? Yes, possible. Could he have gotten in front of the United Nations and said, "Hey, look, this has been pointed out to me that this is some really bad shit, and we need to do this like right now." Okay, because if we don't, and this thing happens, yeah, we'll be still here. But guess what? We'll be plunged into the 18th century and not have any of our fandangled things or phones or whatnot. This will no longer work. All you have to say is that you won't be able to play a video game again, and the millennials will go, "What? Who chose that cabinet, Jim F? Who chose it? Did I choose it? Did you choose it?" Let me tell you something. I've had people betray me and make mistakes, and I don't blame them. I blame me. I was talking to Good Faith the other day. I spent a year and a half helping a studio get off the ground, doing stuff, even supplying them with computer money, you name it, and my expertise, only for them to turn around and betray me because I was going to move my channel to their studio. And every week I was going to do a live show amongst my other shows and have guests and everything else, professional live stream, the works. Okay. And it all turned out to be BS to where that I could have been putting my money, my effort, and everything in a studio downstairs. Oh, by the way, they promised me to help me with my photon computer. Yeah, didn't materialize. Whose fault is it? My fault. It's my fault. My fault that I did this. My fault. I chose. They betrayed me. I didn't listen. My wife was angry because I give people the benefit of the doubt. They screw me all the time. Am I going to change? I don't want to change. That's not me. I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Have I? Do I have anybody here? Like I said last week, who calls you, or do they call you when they need something from you? Oh, believe me, I've finally learned from my mistakes. They'll never get the right time of day out of me. That's not because I don't forgive them. I forgive them. I have to forgive them. I'm a Christian. That's what you have to do. But I will never make that mistake again. Not with them. Never again. Not with them. Ever. No. I I I disagree with you, Jim F. And no, no. So I know what Trump is like. He's the smartest man in the room. I get it. But then what happens is your ego gets in the way. You can't. I watched this. This is a very good. I know you're not going to like this example, but I'm going to give it because it's a very good example. And it's a TV show, and it's Star Wars, and it has nothing. But it has to do with a very good example. What's the example? Listening, listening, observing, standing and watching and observing, and then waiting to speak, and looking at the diversity of specific cultures, and then giving them a certain specific and understanding where they're coming from, and then learning to speak in their ways. What am I talking about? Talking about the Mandarin, third season, Star Wars. Everybody says, "Oh, they're giving all this to them because he hands this other one No, he knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and he's willing to listen to get it. And he makes mistakes, but then he moves on and doesn't make the same mistake again. And that's what I've gotten from this. And I've made mistakes in my life many times, many times. I mean, even with the fire, I had took all the media out of the safe, every bit of it. I'm like, I got it all out. It's all one place, and I'm ready to, I'm because the next day moving, and and there's that little voice in your head and your shoulder saying, you better put this back in. This is 35 years worth of work, and it's not replaceable. And I was going to spend another hour putting it back in the safe and locking it up, the media safe. And I'm not blaming on my wife. You're tired. We'll do it tomorrow. You're coming to move. Do it tomorrow. What happened? Fire happened that night. I don't blame her. It's not her fault. It's my fault. My fault. Is the fire my fault? No. It happened in a circuit that was underneath the soffit for 56 years. And what happened was is that the joist was literally sawing on that circuit. Okay. Whose fault was it? Technically, the guy who inspected the house. Okay. All the way back when it was built because he let that go. And that's the thing. Is it my fault? Not my fault. But it's my fault for not having that media and saying to yourself, what could happen? Nope, get it in. That's why you have a media. Get it in the media safe. Did my gunpowder and my ammo and all that stuff go off in the fire? That was like 2,500 degrees, where it burned all my suits up, but not my flight suits. Amazing. My flight suits and everything was fine. The amazing. Um, but all my other suits, Monty's, everything, gone. Okay. Why? Oh, they were in specific gunpowder boxes that were designed to withstand fire for X amount of time, like an hour and a half. Okay. Did the fire alarm go off? No. Why? Because the fire was in the same soffit that the phone line was in. That it when it shorted, it burnt out. What shorted it? Believe it or not, again, this is not my wife's fault. My wife said, "Oh, you know, we don't need to have this light on in Bobby's room." So she shut off and disconnected this light. The light on that circuit would have been enough draw so that when the current was drawing on the short, it would have popped the circuit breaker, the 15 amp circuit breaker. That's what the fire marshal came to the conclusion of. But because we disconnected the light, all 15 amps on that circuit went to heating up and starting the fire. Whose fault? Not my wife's fault. My fault. Because I should have went and shut the stupid circuit breaker off. Do I do that now? Did I learn? Yeah. I have a house in Vermont. What do? I only leave the circuit breakers on that are needed. Refrigerator, couple lights, cameras, and stuff like that. Everything else off. Off. It's not a the why? Because guess what? Circuit breakers are not fuses. And fuses, when they have a load like that, they burn. And that's it. Circuit breakers, if you don't go into your circuit breaker box, do you do this? I bet you don't. I found out from the same guy. If you don't go into your circuit breaker box and cycle every single circuit breaker every 60 days, they cannot work. They can stick. Did you know this? Did you know it's in that little fine print that comes along with the circuit? I did not know this. I did not know this. Who goes downstairs into their circuit breaker box and cycles every single breaker once every 60 days? I never did it. Never did it. So what do I do? Well, on when I redid the electricity for this house, I went over every single circuit, and on circuits that were going to take, I used even bigger and thicker wire and other types of isolators and GFCs and other stuff. And on other circuits, there even we're running with 12.3. I put 15 amp breakers on them. I'd rather pop that breaker and be well within the specification of the wire that have another fire. Even though I have smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, fire alarms, both wireless and wired. I mean, you name it, I got it. Doesn't matter. No, I don't trust a damn thing anymore. I've been through two fires in my life. I don't want to be through a third. Nobody knows that, Teresa. Don't ever believe that. And the Antichrist has to reign for 3.5 years. So whatever's telling you that is false. Look it up. 3.5 years. Antichrist is here now. Do we know who the Antichrist is? We don't know who the Antichrist is. Some people I know, very, very informed people who suspect certain things, but they won't put they won't, that's false. That's a false prophet, whoever says that, right? Not even when Jesus was walking among us on this earth did he know the day of the end of days and all that. He said, anybody that brings that to you is a false prophet. You can know the times. I mean, we know that we've been in the end of days time since 1947, but that's from scripture, right? Look, we all love this country that are here. We all love our creator in heaven who's created us. We all want the ability to have the freedom of disagreements, the freedom of an argument. I love arguments. I love a discussion. I'm a scientist. That's what we do. Because in those discussions, do we have thoughts, innovations? I have to think, yeah, maybe, yeah, you do this. This is what happens. It's the tyrannical fascist regimes that have killed millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people who think that there is an easy way out, that there's whatever. It's not. It's just another type of dictatorship that puts very, very few in charge of many. This, this, in biblical terms, was used, well, not basically a dime. A dime's worth of silver was used for a day's pay. I don't know what this would be. I guess this would be a month. But you need this. Unlike gold, you need this. Do I have both, but you need this specifically for our way of life. You need it for this. It's in this. It's in solar panels. It's in medical devices. It's in bandages. It's in the military. Oh boy, is it in the military. So throughout the military, in all kinds of ways. That's real. It's tangible. It has a specific value. It is by definition. This by definition is a rare earth. You can't, it's rare. That's why it's sought after. It's sought after because of its physical properties, which it has over other metals. Yes, knew all about it. They planned it all the way going back to 2003. 2003. Okay. Know all about that. Remember, I talked about that from my friend, and this is why these other people lying to you, and why Trump, in a sense, was not getting the right information. I don't know, but the reality is that this director at Cold Spring Harbor, he said the splice was so bad. It's like watching one of those old school films. That's a 16 millimeter. It was watched so many times that there'd be bad splices in it, and the audio would jump, and the picture would change, and it wouldn't be synchronized immediately because the audio is on a different path. Like, while the picture's on, the audio is about 6 inches away from it on the footage. So when you have a splice, that they don't get synchronized until that gets all the way through the audio, and it's, yeah. He said, "No way, no, it's not possible, not possible for that to evolve naturally. No way, couldn't happen." By the way, it's not possible for us to evolve naturally. No way. Can't happen. Same, but more elegantly, and much more elegantly. Okay. Much more elegant of a splice in our genome that differentiates us from the chimpanzees, from all other kinds of life. A very interesting splice, genetic splice. Why? Don't know why. But I do know this. I do know that God exists. God has done many, many documented miracles in my life. And I mean this, medical documented miracles. But He's also done miracles for others. And he's changed my life tremendously. And I've done things that I did not want to do. I didn't want to do it. He's like, no, you got to do this. And it turned out that it was incredible. It changed everything by listening. And it will get easier. If you listen to God, God will talk to you again and again and again. He uses this body that we have. The body of Christ is us. He uses that. He was hounding me for 2 weeks about Rick. I'm not kidding. I'm like, this guy's got a problem, and I don't know what it is, but he keeps telling me about it. I can't get Rick to open up about it. Rick's got. Finally, it's like I had to squeeze a zit to get it out of him. And then I had a marathon on here for a fundraiser. It goes for Jim F. Further than that. Everything you can trace back to basically the larger N, as it were. And no, I'm not talking about the other. I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Argentina is another. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's like in everything that's happened today, if you really want to get serious with it, since the end of World War II, which Truman's folly. But again, why did Truman do what he did? And all of a sudden, 4.5 years later, we're in a thing of why? Because he had skeletons in his closet. Okay. And the OSI knew what that was, later became the Charlie Indiana Alpha. Oh, because it's extremely profitable to be in an arms race and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah. And since the end, as a world, as a world, we spent at least, I don't know, $50 trillion, maybe more, maybe 90. How much gold do you think the Rothschilds actually have amassed? What's it doing in their collection? Do they really control really what's going on? All of it? Are we not at the same abyss that we were in 1972? Are we not going to see oil prices skyrocket again and be shortages again this summer? What's going to prevent it? The only thing that'll prevent it is a crash. And do you believe these non-farming unemployment numbers and employment numbers and jobs created? Really, you believe that? Or do you believe what you're seeing with your own eyes? Do you believe that we're sitting with only 5.9, 5.8 inflation? Do you believe that? Or do you believe when you go to the market and you spend $200 and you look and your basket is not even 20% full? 70% increase in the price of eggs, 35% increase in the price of milk. That's just for example. Teresa Hurst, yes and no. God created the simulation, God's running it, yes. But it is a test, and we test, we have freedoms. He allows certain things to happen for a reason. Okay. But in order for him to be able to see if you are failing or passing the test, you have to be able to fail. You ready for this? Jesus could have failed. He didn't, thank God, but he could have. That's the whole reason. Because he didn't, he was a perfect, unblemished sacrifice that paid for our full sin debt today, all those years ago. But he could have, but he didn't. That's the beauty of it. Oh, did he was he perfect in physical deed? Did he cut a chair to the atomic level? Did he never fall down? Did he never trip on a rock or done something not perfect? No, he was human, but he was perfect in faith. He never sinned. Never. Exactly. Never, never, never. And he did something which he himself said was the most noble thing any human could do. What's that? Lay down your life for your fellow man, whether you love them or not. He laid down his life for all of us. We could never know, and I have only seen a glimpse of the horrors and pain that that man went through for me, for you, with no fear and no reservation. That's the sacrifice that he made for us. The pyramids are not going to be our future power. There was a specific thing that was wrecked from specific tomb robbers. They were not tombs. The specific granite chests that were encapsulated a specific way with gold on them and silver a specific way were capacitors. They were not they were not tombs. They were capacitors because they were rated and some of them were cracked and everything else. It will never and also the facing, the limestone that was on it. It used to look like the Washington Monument, all smooth. The Tesla had an he was on the right track for essentially harnessing the solar wind. It wasn't free energy. He was harnessing the solar wind from the sun and then basically transforming it and then retransmitting it all over the world. And so all you would have to have is this specific antenna. I don't think it was. I don't think it was copper. I think there's bronze. The things that I think were taken. They don't know what was taken. They know from illustrations there was gold and silver there. Specifically, the way that they were smithed, the dissimilar metals made a specific kind of diode, which allowed these granite things that look like sarcophagus to become basically air capacitors. Look up a lightning bottle. Okay, some of the first capacity. Even Benjamin Franklin did that. But again, they were doing this 5,000 years before Christ. Anyway, um, the problem is that you'd have to do it like that. You couldn't do it with the components that Tesla was making because if the sun had, and it does every like 150 years, it has another Carrington event. which is this huge geomagnetic storm that hits. Those pyramids were robust enough to handle that. Okay, not a problem. But the thing that a Warcraft Tower and other things that Tesla was building, no, they were not. And he didn't figure that into his calculations. Um, yeah. So, and he, you know, money finances was pulled from him, even though he built some of the biggest stuff here. Um, there's a better way to do things, not rely on that, and that is molten salt reactors. So they work in zero gravity, they work here, they work everywhere. They're slick, safe, they're physical. It's a novelty that God gave and created a certain, uh, s- you know, um, physical reaction that occurs. It's 98% efficient, safe. It's dependable. Yes, it's fission, but there's tons of thorium, tons of it, and then you can then perfect fusion, which is the real future. I think even beyond that would be antimatter, which you could derive from a fusion reactor. You could store antimatter and then have 100% efficiency with antimatter. You could have, Star Trek was way ahead of I mean, amazing stuff. The guy was up on his journals because an antimatter that's 100% efficient. So yeah, it would really do the trick. No, nothing left, Jim. Nothing left at all. Nothing left that the facility had out in Colorado either. Nope. And the so-called 43 boxes, trunks, there's only like 13 of them left and stuff like that. I know that the government and they raided and they took everything. So they were. I mean, he was doing stuff. Tesla was doing remote control. He even showed it off. Not only transmission of the energy to make this boat go, but he was directing it from this way. Made Einstein look like a fifth grader. Yeah, just guy was on another planet. I mean, incredibly intelligent. If you ever read his writings and his patents, they're just remarkable. It's like looking at Mozart's writings and his music. It's perfect. There's not an edit. There's not a rewrite. There's not. It's like he wrote the whole thing and he's just writing it down. It's amazing. Yeah, God creates geniuses like that. It's incredible. So, yeah, you owe everything that we are. This phone was working that way. The Wi-Fi that's running this iPad and the cellular phone, and everything. That's yeah, it's all Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Not to mention the AC current that's running in my walls. That this is being transformed to DC. It's all Nikola Tesla. All of his work. Incredible work. My son, um, well, they both were. I mean, James was young. Um, James was about 7. Bobby was about 11 or about 10. 10. I guess James was, yeah. I guess Bobby was going to be 11. But at any rate, yeah, he built the Tesla call for his science class, and that was 7th grade. So I don't know. How old are you in 7th grade? So however old you are in 7th grade, that's when he did it. And Yeah, I mean, the first tow road that he met, he kid me, it was with a dryer hose and pie plates and stuff, and I was doing some resonance frequencies thing. I'm like, "Bobby, this thing is gonna blow every single ballast in the gymnasium where you're gonna do this, and there's gonna be it's gonna blow all the bulbs, and there's gonna be glass raining down all over everybody." And I think he knew this because he was kinda giving me that Cheshire cat grin. I said, "No, no, no, no. We're gonna change. You're gonna have to make another coil, and I'll order this other smaller thyroid just for this demonstration." I said, "Yeah, you built this other one, and we'll fire the thing up outside, but for the gym, we don't need glass raining on everybody in the gymnasium." Yeah, yeah, yeah. He ordered the plans. It was a scientific. It was like $15. Scientific, whatever. He ordered the plans. We got the transformer from a neon sign. The aluminum box. We got that as a kit. The top was the specific board we got at the Home Depot. The actual connections to hell the capacitor we got that at Ace Hardware yeah, Ace Hardware. And then he made all the other we got he made it all. I bet a rig that turned the magneto wire into a thing where he could roll it and put it on there. And then he lacquered it up, and he counted every single thing to verify it. And then yeah, the sad thing is that I had done all the equations from memory, and it took me a whole day to do the math. And there was nobody at his school, at his middle school, that could check my work. I had to call up one of my engineer buddies, um, and it took him a day to check my math. I remember when I built my first Tesla coil, I was like, I don't know, 12, 13. It worked for about 30 seconds and blew up in a fire. Yep, that's me. I had a lot of I had a lot of things I built that went on fire. Um, yeah, well, that's what they're trying to swing with this whole satanic thing, you know. Um, they're trying to swing this, and that's what they're trying to do with this Fed Now money and their other CB things. They're trying to get rid of the dollar by crashing it, and instead they're going to give you a cyber currency and all this other kind of stuff that they can turn on and off like a gift certificate from wherever you get gift certificates from. A specific expiration date. Well, first rule number one. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, this is the truth. Okay, when I was a kid, I was called more than once a know-it-all, and why? Because I tended not to listen. I was kind of stubborn. There's a the gene in the Ball family it goes in stubbornness, and I failed to listen to people. Okay, who actually did know better than what I did. Okay, but I was so my father basically, and he was right. He was right and wrong on this. He was. He was right that I never forgot it, and it changed me. But I wish that he would have. been more forceful and explained to me and show me in another way where I didn't have to destroy my whole half a year's worth of work. Um, so yeah, there's that. Um, my son Bobby is not that way at all. Uh, he is extremely diligent. He's very thorough, eh, almost too thorough. To where his flaw, and the Navy fixed this, was that he could not deal with failure. And the Navy, basically an academy, basically made, and it was hard. It was hard for them to do this, to get him to fail, and it was hard, but they did it, and then so he accepts failure, but he again learns from that in the best way. So he has he's had no career failures ever. So they've been political, but they haven't been failures. He's right up there. My other guy, he's more like me, but again, he's self-made and he's very good at what he does, and he's probably I would say he's definitely a leader in his field. I don't think there's probably anybody that could do it better than he does it, and that's the way it is. So the main thing I tried to teach my sons is the ability to learn. I knew that I was never going to be, um, well, at least you hope. I mean, yeah, there's certain things that I can do better than my sons. Okay, fine, great. Um, I'm probably more with electronic circuits only because I've been just doing welding. Yeah, again, same thing, doing it longer. Computers again, but doing it that since I was 10, 11, but more from the inside out. Even though they've done tremendous things, but they don't they don't have to them it's a tool. It's not a passion. If anything, um, uh, my oldest son probably through his career cursed me because he knew an incompetent IT person and would just have to deal with fixing it for his own work because he knew that it wouldn't be fixed if he left it up to the IT people that were there. So he ended up having to be that, and that's my fault. I gave him that foundation, both of them. So I felt it was important to do that. Neither wants to do that, um, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. They both have their loves, and they are the best at what they do that they love. So that's great. That's really good. I loved bringing code to life and making and knowing and having people use it usefully and seeing it contribute to their work productivity, making them be able to do more work in a specific time. And I was there wasn't a database management system that I didn't really create and master at a specific time and place. I was extremely prolific. There was there was a time when I was like, forget about it. My mother has I'm going to be seeing her, and she's old and she's seen the light of day. but she doesn't remember a lot. She's I have to see her before she leaves this planet. So I told her to have her priest, because she's a Catholic, have him read John, and so that seemed to do a lot of good. I wanted Congress to argue over why they have lost some of their best pilots and talent. What's my opinion? When you have somebody, and why there was a Babylon B video that was done. It's a spoof, but it's apropos, and you guys should all see it. Okay, it's Babylon B. It's about them, and there it is, and that's why it's always been a cycle. Right now, we're in a cycle to where that the airlines need a lot of pilots, and to be an airline pilot, okay, right now. So you come out of the military and you have um, that kind of experience. They put you into the seat, and you're already making six figures. Okay. Um, a lot of them don't want to be bus drivers. Okay, that's what they call it. A lot of them have families, and they do. They want that stability because they end up only working maybe like 3 weeks a month, really, and they get travel benefits for their family, so they can fly anywhere in the world. And it's good. It's good. I mean, in 4 or 5 years flying with them, they can make captain, and they're really making the bucks. So I'm getting a piece of my mother. So please play for my son. My younger son's going through a very hard time now. My oldest son is transitioning, so pray for him too. Um, so yeah, I'm more concerned about them in Salvador. My mother is doing better as far as that is concerned between me and her. Um, it's what it's what I hope to spend the entire summer with her. I'm gonna drag her up here. At any rate, if I have to, I'll drag her nurse's aide as well. But my son is getting out of the Navy, um, so he put his papers in, and he's going to be a FAA test pilot out of Fort Worth. And this exemplifies the problem with our military now. Um, my son wanted to do his 21 years. Why wouldn't any military man want to do that and get those types of incredible benefits? But when you have a military that doesn't specifically care about your talents, what's underneath this, whatever you identify with, what they do is they care about their box checking, and you cannot be a checked box flying back onto a ship with 4 500-pound bombs, fuel, and not be the best in that seat. You're just a box checker. It does not end well. It does not work out. And you've only seen and heard the tip of the amount of deaths that have happened It's coming. The 9, the 1 crew members lost their legs. You never heard of it. Didn't happen. Okay. That's what this administration does. You don't hear about it. The media protects it. You never hear the truth about nothing. Just like, how do you take, let's talk about the other side of the fence, okay? You're taking trumped up charges, and I'm telling you the truth, and you make it into a felony, and you talk about something 34 ways, and then make each one of them a charge. Just because if I take this book and I look at it 34 different times, it's still the Bible, okay? I doesn't doesn't ch- doesn't make it 34 different things. It makes it me moving it. It's the same thing. The Bible. Okay. So, and then all this stuff, all these motions are going to come till December 4th. And it's not political? Come on. Okay. This is just ridiculous. Again, we cannot justify morality. We do not do this. Okay. Now they're saying, and now she's getting on. I saw this interview. So she says, "Oh, there's going to be rape charges filed." Okay, I'm going to tell you something right now. If they could have made something like that stick during this and put him in cuffs because of it, they would have done it. They wanted that. They wanted it bad. They are insane around here. Like I said, I am not saying this is right. I'm saying it breeds them like you and believe. The TDS abounds like nobody's business. And I've seen it from people in my wife's office. Unbelievable hatred to Trump. And the derangement syndrome, they don't care. They wouldn't have cared if somebody came in and shot the man dead. It would have been justified as far as they're concerned. That's how crazy these people are. They don't care about the two. They don't care. The Clintons, that they don't care. Hunter, they don't care. The evil, they don't care. They don't care. The trees, they don't care. Because if you watch the media, the programming, they have done their NLPs. They have done their most. That these people have been programmed for the past 15 years, if not 20, to look and see things with a specific color on their lenses, a specific way. Just as this other person who was saying that she don't like what I'm doing, can't believe anything I'm saying scientifically because I believe in Jesus and I know that he died for my sins. And I know that he exists. And I know that God exists. And I know that God's talked to me, talked to I know this. And I have again miracles to show it, that the doctors are like, we don't know how it happened. We don't know. We don't know. How do you go from being blind, blood in your eyeballs one day, Wednesday, and by Friday, where they're going to operate on you, like it never happened? No signs of anything. Both eyes, by the way. And that was the first time. That whole event was the first time I started praying for myself. Before that, even when I was in a tube and I had my stroke, I specifically died with this prayer. I said, God, don't worry about me. Please take care of my boy because my son was in harm's way. And he lost a friend who was a friend through the academy, through flight school, through everything like this. He lost him 2 weeks before this. My son was looking for him for 3 days so that he could tell his parents that he was looking for him for 3 days, knowing full well they wasn't going to find anything of him because the kid disintegrated. And that was on Obama Biden. Why did that kid disintegrate? Because he was flying in a jet with a CMU that was taken out of another jet. Shouldn't happen. CMU has to be taken brand new in the box. But they were gun decking to meet a specific specification. The Navy is in the same condition, if not worse, than it was then. These are the things, if Trump could have gotten his ego aside, he would have turned around and said, wait a second, and done a hard look at things before the 2018 elections. He certainly should have done a retrospective after the 2018 elections. But his ego got in the way. And believe me, I know what it's like to have an ego like that. I used to have one. Well, not as big as that, but it was pretty big. Was I an obnoxious, arrogant SOB at one point in my life? Absolutely. Definitely. Definitely. And if you look up the Disney films thing, you'll see that I definitely wasn't. I'm not proud of it. But to admit that that I wasn't would be a lie. And I'm telling you right now, I am not the same person. I changed. And I'm very glad that God gave me the grace and the ability to make that change. But not acknowledging the SOB that I was back then, yes, it gave me the ability to do things, but I could do them today. I'm not going to tell you that being more gracious and more humble and everything else would not give that. That would be a lie. Was I covering up an insecurity of other things? Maybe. I don't know. I'd be kidding myself for not being fully honest. I can't make an excuse. You know, I was extremely lucky to get blessed with the angel of my wife. I was extremely lucky to get blessed with my sons, my first one and my second one. Blessed. I tried to be the best father I could be. Was I perfect? No freaking way. No way. I made mistakes just like anybody did, but was not doing them on purpose. I was doing them the best thing that I could do, you know. But I'm not a perfect human being, you know. It's not realistic to play Monday morning quarterback on your life and say, "Oh, you wish." It's not realistic. You have to turn around and learn from those which turn out to be mistakes, but you didn't do the mistakes on purpose. You were doing the best you could. That's that's the difference, okay? Being able to own that. That's also important. And no, I'm not afraid. Someone's accusing me of being a coward, afraid that's why I'm all about Jesus now. No. I died. I was dead for 5.5 minutes. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of other people dying and not being saved. You can't even imagine. I can't communicate it accurately enough to explain to you the horrors of what I saw. and the grace and the beauty and the love. All I felt from God was love. All I felt from Him was love. I felt everything from everybody falling into that abyss, but I did only felt one thing. We were all reaching up for that light. And that's what I felt was I once it touched me. I knew that all the love in my life that I've ever felt was derived from him. And I can never make that up to him. And he doesn't require you. He just requires you to love him. But you can't love like that. It's we're humans. I might be able to love like that when he transforms me, but I can't explain it to you. I just I it's incomprehensible. And remember, he created you the same way. He created you at that love. And all he requires us to do is to honor him, love him, obey him, praise him, for he is a jealous God, in his own words. Amen to that. And happy Easter, everybody.